Hey, what's up people? Landan with LMR.com. I want to take a little bit of your time today and share some good information about crankshaft sensor rings. The crankshaft sensor ring is also commonly referred to as a pulse ring or an exciter ring. Its location is on the rearward flange of the crankshaft, and to get access to it, you have to remove the transmission, the flywheel, the clutch, the pressure plate, and all of the other associated components. Replacing it, it's easy. Again, it's just getting to it is what's time consuming. The crankshaft sensor ring is monitored by the crankshaft position sensor. The crankshaft position sensor is mounted adjacent to the ring on the engine block, and it's the primary sensor that sends ignition information to the PCM. By monitoring the pulse ring, the crankshaft sensor signal indicates crankshaft position and speed information to the PCM. Now, by monitoring the missing tooth, the sensor is also able to identify piston travel in order to synchronize the ignition system and provide a way of tracking the angular position of the crankshaft relative to a fixed reference for the crankshaft sensor configuration. The PCM also uses the crankshaft sensor signal to determine if a misfire has occurred by measuring rapid deaccelerations between the teeth. All right, so now that you know what this thing does, you're probably wondering what's next. Well, a popular upgrade for owners that are turning their Coyote engines past 7,700 RPM is a high RPM pulse ring that basically moves the allowable or the acceptable RPM to 8,100. The high RPM pulse ring prevents signal degradation by utilizing a taller wall on the area with the missing tooth. So if you're in the position of upgrading to the high RPM pulse ring, since you have to take all these components apart related to the transmission, you may want to jot down or write down other parts that you may want to consider while you have all this stuff apart. Speaking of all this stuff, we do have a few separate videos related to some of these components, which include servicing the rear main seal, as well as how to remove and how to install the transmission, clutch, pressure plate, flywheel, and the related components. Those will all be linked for you down in the description. Other than all that good stuff, let's move into the procedure. So with the transmission and its related components removed from the vehicle, go ahead and remove the crankshaft sensor ring. Make note of the orientation and install the new ring into place with the teeth facing towards the engine. You'll notice the little locating dowel on the ring. This needs to be situated within the correct hole on the rear flange of the crankshaft. You can't mess this up because the hole that I'm referring to on the rearward flange of the crankshaft is correctly positioned for the locating dowel on the pulse ring. Once you have this installed, you can continue replacing other components, or you can go ahead and put everything back together. Per the Ford Workshop Manual, a crank relearn is required. This can be done with some handheld tuning devices or other dedicated automotive diagnostic devices. After that, you're good to go. All right, people, so wrapping things up here, that's a quick rundown of the crankshaft sensor ring, the crankshaft position sensor, kind of how all that ties together, the information that it sends to the PCM, and of course the pretty simple steps of how to switch these out if you're upgrading to the high RPM pulse ring. As always, if you find value in what we do, like the video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. That way you're notified every time we release something new. And until we catch you in the next one, y'all know what to do for all things 79 to present Mustang. Keep it right here with the real enthusiasts, LMR.com.